Hey guys, we're back with our next episode of our Sryth playthrough, our fantasy-based RPG, text-based RPG. Yeah, I rage quit last time. I've never died in the proving ground that I can remember. And so I was just so mad that now I don't have 100% on the proving grounds. But it is what it is, so we'll just have to keep going. Thanks for so much for hanging out and joining me. How about we just go? I'm heading back to Softshore Glen, to the Goblin Claw, to do the thing with the old man. I think there's a few more days. You're about to enter the inn. The sound of something dragging itself across the ground behind you says your pulse racing. Spin around the horrified, discovered a gray-scaled cloud breath snake slithering up rapidly up to the path towards you. A vicious, hissing creature suddenly rears back and stretches wide its fanged jaws. Prepares to unleash a deadly cloud of venom. I'm gonna go to the woodsmanship. Utilizing a well-known trick employed by Master Woodsman, you begin a slow rhythmic movements with your left hand. The movements mimic like the snake's attention as the creature slithers slowly towards your left. You strike out with the right and Esper sees it below its head, crushing the snake, killing it instantly. Carefully pick up the tactic axe of the dead snake and toss it towards the edge of the road. I take a few moments to look around and make certain that no more of the scaly predators are lurking nearby. You make your way to the end. You made it only to the edge of the common room when you find yourself face to face with this Goochner, a notorious innkeeper whose facial expression betrays nothing emotional if you follow him in the room to the back of the inn. You're both taken aback and overjoyed to find Brindleweir up and about, most of his colour having returned. With his skin no longer bearing the sickly ashen grey hue, the young man looks to be almost the perfect specimen of rugged vitality. He quickly strides up and meets you in a shoulder cross. Bruce starts back out of the room, leaving you alone with the young man who seems to have made nearly a full recovery. After thanking your pretty for saving his life, the young, self-described adventurer listens with great interest as you relate to him the encounter with Deathred and Triffic. When you mention your own running with the cloud breast snake just outside the inn, you seem both shocked and immediately fearful. Whatever is at work is well beyond my own modest abilities, he says, somewhat apologetically. I came here seeking you, understanding whether or not it is your liking I must leave this man in your capable hand. Perhaps there's nothing more to be done with it, but I imagine you will have your own thoughts on that. At length, you take your leave of Brildwin, and he tells you that he will remain in the inn until he feels he's well enough to set out for Triffic, his original destination. Wishes you luck in the travels again. Thanks you for saving his life. In turn, you wish him a swift completion to his recovery, and you're going to admonish him to stay clear of snakes, though you get the feeling there's unfortunately more practicality that to a playful woman that you would like. Don't worry. I'll see that he's strong on his feet before he's out the door, grins Brexville, pushing past you in the room carrying a steaming pail of stew. So you ought to put some bounce back in your stride, young fella, and that I'd kill you outright. Can't ever tell what this do. You bid the innkeeper and Brildweir farewell and set off on your way. Wow. I suddenly pause and gaze at the rather tranquil scenery that surrounds you. It seems a stark contrast to the spectre of sinister fan in the midst of which you seem to have directly landed, despite your misgivings about the shadowy nature of the episodes connected with Deathridge's discovery of the ruins of Terramere. You quickly resolved that the only way you could ever hope to get to the bottom of the is to pay a visit to the ruins yourself, while you in no way yeah, love is blind, principally fabulous, he only about the line. Please do recommend definitely. While you are in no way only a journeyman adventurer and have laid eyes upon countless things, both wondrous and terrifying in your travels, you feel that it will be quite some time before you can forget the chilling sight of the pale ashen faces of Brildweir and Deathred. The bluish hue of your skin and their bodies slowly succumb to the ravaging effects of the venom coursing to the veins, and a hint of the dark murderous plot that stretched all the way from the bustling trees of Adderstone to the heart of South Trod Glen. Armed with the knowledge of where you seek where to see the ruins of the ancient Vorin-bound Temple of Taramir, you'll be able to access the special ruins of Taramir multiplied replay set area. Look for the ruins of Taramir in High Hills region. Okay. Can I go what I came here to do, which is fight for this old man? I didn't even know how to come back to Goblin Claw for that. Pew, 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 pew. Yep, and we're back. We'll be back tomorrow for more of that. I mean, we might as well try to go to the Hard Hills. And then to, what did it say? Other ruins where you see the ruins. The ruins of Taramir in the Hard Hills region. Ruins, not the ruins of Ricketts, the ruins of Taramir. I'm in the southeast Tisa. I don't see it. Awesome. Oh well. I guess we'll go back to Hawkroll and continue the proving ground, even though I've been trodden upon. And I remember where my castle is. Not far from Trudmore. I'm gonna just copy this. Alright, let's try it again. I mean, did we just die? Yeah, I mean, we'll go for it again. I'm not rereading this though. I mean, I use fortification. Right, I have a fortification. Is that gonna kill me too? Successful, huh? The massive hole remains smashes into your glowing and buried and slides off into the stables, leaving in harm. You breathe a sigh of relief, knowing the weighty beam and eventually kills you. It did. You dispel your summon barrier and rush forward toward the townsfolk that tends to effect and escape from the blazing structure. You reach the trapped townsfolk and immediately join the two men who desperately try to cut a makeshift opening in the wall with their axes. The flames have nearly reached you when at last the tough wooden wall is breached. You help the people to succeed the jagged portal and are the last to leave the collapsing structure. As you emerge from the breach in Savoy, you're met with two asphalt men. They thank you for coming to their aid and tell you that they will now lead the others to safety. You will do wise to flee this place, strangers. From the men as he departs, there's nothing left here now. These masked men came seeking Jethro. He has not been here in ages. They will surely continue to ravage this town, even if only out of spite. Wish them luck and watch as the fleeing townsfolk part. There's one, comes a sinister voice from behind you. You turn around and your nerves are steel for what can only be looming confrontation. Two masked swordmen, each holding a flaming torch, have rounded the corner of the stables and making their way towards you. The two men pass aside the torches and draw the blaze as they continue their approach. Suddenly, one of them gestures in the direction of the fleeing townfolk, but before they can change course and head after the large group, we've only stepped into the path and stand in between them and their helpless prey. Dead. Trash. The bloody corpse of the two swordmen lie at your feet. A quick search of their remains reveals the following. With the town folks having fled into relative safety of the forest, you allow yourself several moments to recover from your exertions. Your rest does not last long, however. A blood-curdling scream comes from the direction of the town's main thoroughfare. You set off at once towards the unnerving sound, fearful of what may find it at its source. I'm real mad about this. Judgment of death, let's go. Moving in the direction of the blood-curdling scream, you arrive at the edge of the town's main thoroughfare, where you're greeted by a gruesome sight. In the middle of the thoroughfare stands a hopping, boorish troll, towering over a cowering man at the ground at his feet. The bodies of two humans, both their heads missing, lie nearby. You realize the helpless man is about to receive the same judgment of death already leveled on two of his kin. Even before the cruel beast begins to raise its heavy stone axe, you must act quickly. Yes, I tried. The arrow flies true and pierces the troll's side, burying itself in the creature's lungs. The hideous creature rolls in agony before crashing to the ground. There, the man leaps to his feet and prepares to flee. Call out to him, he chose to sprint in the direction. Together you manage to escape relative safety in the forest at the edge of the town. When you are safe distance from the ravaged town, you stop to speak with the man who you had rescued. He thanks you repeatedly for saving his life and tells you what he knows about those masked raiders and their troll counterparts. None of the masked men and the trolls arrived a little over 2 hours ago and quickly engaged and defeated the town's militia. They then proceeded to search for a man by the name of Jatha and tortured and subsequently killed several of the residents of Quiris Tain in the process. Jatha has not been back in Quiris Tain for several years, said the man. He was our resident mage at one time. His daughter, Unleri, is a spellcaster on her own right, and she's here, if she's still alive. The last I knew, she was in a small band who were trapped in the old mill on the edge of town, fighting hard against these masked devils. Her power is not insignificant, and I do doubt that she could hold them at bay for a while, but certainly not forever. The man seems to feel lingering about him long, and he's prepared to set off through the forest. My wife and children fled at the outset of the raid. He tells you I must try and catch up with them now, or they will no doubt be fearing for my safety for good reason. I cannot thank you enough, stranger. You'll be wise to leave this place yourself. There's no hope against such evil. You bid the man farewell and wish him luck on the road ahead. Despite his parting warning, you have no intention of abandoning the town and those who may still be trapped here fighting for their lives against an unrelenting and overpowering enemy. It's obvious that whoever these masked men are, the hope of finding the man named Jatha is what led them here. We only hope that his daughter Unleri can shed some light on it all. Realizing this will only be accomplished if she remains alive, you strike out at once for the old mill on the northern edge of town. We pray that you're not already too late. The old mill. Yeah, I read this already. The old mill, unused for a better part of 50 years, stands just in the northern edge of town, next to the elbow, a swift stream that once held its mighty will. It's obvious at first glance that a great battle has been waged here recently. You count the bodies of 7 of the masked raiders strewn around the road in front of the mill. At least 3 of the dead raiders show signs of having been badly burned, and that renews your hope for. You can only assume that means they met their fate in the hands of a skilled mage, Unleri may yet be alive. From the cover of the forest, you watch the mill for several minutes, but you can see no sign of any movement either within or without. Divination. You sense the danger lurks in the forest behind the old mill. Alright. You nearly reach the front door when shouts rings out from the upper windows. Don't step any further, calls a man, rush from above. What's your business, stranger? You look up at the secondary door of the mill, but can see no one in any of the windows. The sudden click of crossbow being drawn reinforces the apparent urgency of the man's question. You begin to explain yourself to an unseen man who suddenly the sound of approaching horses reaches your ears. You turn to see 3 masked horsemen moving along the road at a steady trot heading toward the old mill from out of town to the north. The lead horseman spots you and draws his sword. His 2 companions follow suit. In a matter of seconds, all 3 are rapidly bearing down on you. Elementalism. You call upon your power of elementalism and manage to summon a pair of small air elementals. They're nearly invisible beings immediately go to work, stirring up a blinding cold cloud of dust that envelopes the horsemen. They're forced to halt their rapid advance as they attempt to regain control of their spooked mounts. Seizing the opportunity, rush the 3 horsemen from behind, managing to topple one of their number from the saddle and dispatch him before the remaining 2 have fully gathered their wits. Death. Quick examination of the bodies of the fallen enemies reveals the following. The front door of the mill flies open and a man holding a crossbow appears. He calls out to him, motioning to follow him back inside. You heed his words and usher inside the old mill. The man leads you to a small room at the rear of the mill, and you soon find yourself the target of scrutinizing if there's a dozen armed men. The men are outfitted in leather armor of poor quality and wield a motley array of barely adequate weapons. Then you to draw the conclusion that you look upon a hastily conceived fighting force. A young woman holding a tall wooden staff, whom you previously did not notice, steps forward from the group. Her grime-streaked face and scarlet leather breastplate betray the brutal struggles in which she has recently been involved. She regards you with a curt nod and actual name. In reply, she introduces herself as Unleri and tells you that you look upon all that remains of the armed resistance in Quarter's team. I've heard of you, Alison, says Unleri, as she and the others relax their guards. It's neither divine providence or folly that has led you here in our hour of need, yet, even with such an illustrious name to swell out, the depleted ranks and simply our state ever against us. Even now our enemy must be regrouping. They will no doubt return here with a great force that we are capable of repelling. We cannot stay here for much longer. We know that the men in this room are not militia, but rather simple townsfolk who rallied to Unleri, seeking to help her father Jethro find safe passage out of Queer's team. My father is here in the old mill, she says softly, as if she fears being overheard. He had returned to the town several months ago to live out his few remaining years in obscurity in the western frontier. The western frontier offers, and I alone knew this, yet in seeing those who seek to misuse his knowledge have found him, and our time to act grows short. Unleri tells you that her father is a major great skill whose knowledge regards shadow paths and their corresponding shadow gates is unparalleled throughout the realms, except for me. He has nearly the entirety of Quirt's cipher committed to memory. There's no one more versed in the pathways between this realm and the Neverness, save perhaps the Grey Mage. It is this knowledge and insights into the cipher that our enemies are after at the same time. We must not get what they seek. By all accounts, recluse mages screaming with the Grey Circle. Yeah, I'm the leader of the Grey Circle now. Whatever. Unleri believes you can't help but believes, and you can't help but agree that the mass raiders and the silent spellcaster seeming to lead them have come to Queer's team to retrieve her father, no doubt seeking to utilize him to unlock the Shadow Gate as a means standing for some insidious design. The silent fiend of the master serves must not succeed. All my life I've heard nothing of the horde that an open shadow path invites into this world. An open shadow path in the hands of such a vicious lot as this would spell destruction 100-fold of lights of which we have seen here this day. And Unleri tells you that the original plan was to move her father Jethro out of town under the cover of darkness and not return. We would flee east to Sryth and perhaps north and across the river, he said. Alas, I fear we can no longer hold out that long. Night is too long coming to hope to resist this enemy should they launch another assault. I fear that we shall have to risk moving. Two loud crashes mingled with the splintering of wood erupt simultaneously from the front and back entries of the mill. Battle where the company draws up weapons and divides. The 6 men charge in the rear of the building and 6 sprinting to the fore. Unleri mutters a brief prayer and twirls her tall wooden staff once before striding to the front of the mill of the assault she feared is on. Assist to the group of forest trolls that smash the front door of the mill while abandoning their sword and their port in the rear. Well, she went to the front, so let's go to the back. Charge the rear of the mill, closely followed by 6 armed townsmen. 4 masked swordmen have broken down the door and into the building. They leap forward instantly, engage and select targets, cutting down 2 of the townsmen almost instantly. You quickly find yourself cornered by 2 of the marked assailants who seem to regard you with a good deal of caution as they move to strike. Your swordmen topple over dead. You sprint to see how the townsmen are faring against their attackers. Your quietest men discover not seeing the townsman is alive. 2, the men they have all been mercilessly cut down by their assailants, wasting no time. You charge one of the masked swordsmen and speed attack, catching him off guard. Step over the body of the fallen swordsman, and once met with a pair of masked cohorts, they come from both sides. Their blades slicing the air within inches of your head. The masked swordmen are all dead. You stand at the ready for several moments, your eyes strained on the smashed door, but no more insect. The lone survivor of the brutal combat turn and sprint to the front of the mill, hoping that you will be evaded. Don't take you Unleri and the others. You arrive at the front and nearly stumble over the smoldering carcass of a troll sprawled across the doorway. In a bright flash of light fills the room, and a bolt of blue flame sails through the air, slamming into the chest of the towering forest troll. The facing the winged beast emits a painful gas and collapses to the floor in a semi-charred heap. Unleri turns the face and screams through the dark. You instinctively obey the desperate command as she levels the staff at something behind you and releases a wide arc of blue flame. An agonized roar goes up from behind you, and an arc of flame cuts clear through the forest troll, whose club was poised to deal you a deadly blow. The wicked beast thumps to the floor, joining the carcass of 5 of its kin. There are no more any left alive, but it is a grim scene to behold. All the townsmen have been killed, but you and Unleri as the sole survivors of the savage battle. Suddenly Unleri screams at the alarm and rushes out of the mill. He follows suit, not knowing what prompted her hasty exit, prepared to face whatever awaits you outside. Outside the mill, an unsettling sight greets you. 2 masked women have just slung the limp body of an elderly man on the back of a horse, while another pair of raiders stand nearby, their drawn blades slick with fresh blood. The horseman digs his heels into his mount and sets off at a rapid pace, heading north out of the town Jethro has been taken. Unleri cries out anguish as a horse bearing the unmoving body of her father disappears in view around a bend in the road. The 4 swordsmen remain seen, determined to prevent you from taking up pursuit and continuing to encircle you and Unleri. Spare nothing on these masked rats, Allison, scowls Unleri, loud enough for the encroaching swordsman to hear. You square off against 2 to your right, and the Unleri boldly moves against the pair on your left. Having dispatched your 2 masked assailants, you turn to aid Unleri, only to discover that she is standing against one of the remains of her 2 foes. She smiles grimly and stabs the butt end of her staff into the ground in anger. There's little time, Allison, she says, concern present in every aspect of her demeanor. We can only assume that this foe will move quickly to achieve whatever and they need my father to bring about. Our only hope is to move swiftly against them and strike before they have had a chance to act in their schemes, whatever they may be. Unleri believes that the departing rider has taken her father to an encampment somewhere north of town. The men and trolls who thrice tempted to take the mill always come from the north. I suspect they launched their raid on the Queerest Taim from some camp in the wilds that way. It is then we must go. That is, if you will go with me. I cannot possibly ask you to cover me in a mission that would seem to define foolhardy. Unleri is somewhat taken aback when you meet her in a shoulder cross and tell her that you will see this through with her. You must reassure her that she will again see her father alive and well. She smiles and thanks you. Let us not delay, she says. The town is in no further danger, I would wager, as these masked brigands have what they came for. They fear no one, it seems, and may such incidents prove their undoing. They will watch the road, but we best move under cover of the forest. You enter the woods immediately, make your way swiftly north, leaving the smoke and around a Queerest Taim behind. For more than an hour, you trek through the dense and tangled forest until at last you pass a very small back of a small rise and come upon your first obstacle, the first sign that you're on the trail of the enemy. Well, let's keep going. You stand at the top of a thickly forested hillside, looking down upon a well-traveled road winding its way through the woods below. 2 masked horsemen sit atop their mounts with their blades resting across their legs. Sit in the middle of the road, carefully watching to the east. Unleri whispers that the road usually runs east and west. To the east, it eventually turns south and runs into Queerest Taim, while to the west, it runs into the wild, untamed wilderness of the forest and foothills. She believes that it is in the foothills that the masked raiders have an encampment. We both agree that although the road offers the most direct approach to foothills, it is far too dangerous, of course. While you ponder what your next course of action will be, continue close watch 2 masked horsemen in place on the road below. You sense the road is still frequently used by the masked raiders, and that to set foot upon any spirit town without unnecessary danger. Having decided it's not best to become entangled with 2 horsemen, you and Unleri make a safe distance away and discuss your next course of action. Unleri tells you there are 2 possible approaches to the foothills from here, neither of which involve the dangerous option of traveling along the open road. You listen carefully as she lays out both options. On the north side of the road between here and the foothills is in the area of the forest known to those in these parts as the frontier Goblin Gate. It's a dense tangled area of forest riddled with crags and caves, according to those who have ventured in it, crawling with goblins. The alternative, she tells you, is to cross the road and trek through the swamp that extends near the edge of the foothills. Both paths would seem to offer an inconspicuous approach to your destination, though you find it difficult to determine which poses the greater risk. Let's hit the swamp. Having carefully weighed both options, you determine that trek through the swamp sounds more appealing than taking a chance on the section of forest known as Goblin Gate. Larry agrees, and the 2 of you set off at once, your senses alert for the first possible sign of danger as you pass the tangled treacherous morass that stands between you and the foothills. The swamp quickly becomes tricky to navigate. You find yourself struggling to find solid ground upon which to set your feet. Suddenly the swamp around you explodes, showering you with muck and debris as a massive serpent rises up with a gloomy stand of depths. From the gloomy, stagnant depths, Unleri cries out in alarm as the tip of a wooden staff begins to mold as she assumes an offensive stance. She leaps in her to a side and stare up at the reptilian behemoth towering above you. The grey-scaled serpent soars slightly as his head shoots down at you. Its mighty jaws agape as it intends to swallow you whole. The two of you manage to evade its initial attack. With little other recourse, you launch a desperate counter-assault. Dead. I'll take it. The massive swamp serpent is dead, and as a tremendous bulk begins sliding back into the murky pool out of which you grow, you take a moment to catch your breath before setting off on your way. I would never have expected that, said Unleri as you skirt around the edge of the dark bubbling pool. On the far side of the pool, you discover the skeletal remains of several humans, half buried in the muck. You're about to pass over the bones and continue when something nearby catches your eye. A closer examination of the object reveals to be a silver ring. The image of the legal man has been etched onto the surface of the band. You also discover a half-rotted leather bag containing a large quantity of gold. Okay, when you're ready, you resume your trek through the swamp. Remember, the trek through the swamp proves uneventful, and you're glad that when you reach the western edge of the bog, your feet are once again set upon solid ground. With Unleri at your side, you move into the trees bordering the swamp, where you quickly encounter two familiar faces. You spot three masked swordsmen moving through the forest. Along the edge of the swamp, the three men have also spotted you, and they immediately draw their swords and close into attack. You rush forward to intercept one of the masked men, leaving you to face the other two. Dead. The masked swordsmen are dead. Without delay, you and Unleri move quickly through the forest, heading west toward the foothills. It's not long before the dense forest gives way to a broad expanse of rolling hills that run into the base of the distant Volrinden range. You step out in the woods and begin a cautious trek through the foothills. After only half a mile, you come upon that which you seek. Sprawled out in the hollow in the hills below are the remnants of a sizable encampment. Over 24 of the masked raiders are busy packing away the remains of the camp into 3 wagons. A group of 7 masked horsemen sits at the north edge of the encampment in front of the overgrown road that plunges into the woods. And Unleri nods over as she carefully surveys the scene. They're headed to Drakir, she said, motioning to the horsemen at the northern edge of the camp. They were saddled on the road in the forest. Of course, I should have known the old temple might play a part in this. There must be a shadow path in that place, and they seek to have my father unlock the gate that holds it closed. I am almost certain. Unleri tells you that Drakir is an ancient Alvari temple that sits several miles within the forest. The temple has been abandoned for centuries and has always been avoided by those who knew of its existence. My father spoke of the temple many times, she said, yet he would only say that it guarded a dark secret. I believe we now know what that dark secret must be, and we must do what we can to see that it's never utilized. With the wagons loaded and virtually no trace of the encampment, behind the masked men mount their horses and proceeded on the road that leads to the forest. It is decided that you will follow along behind the departing company, taking great care to keep your presence undetected. You again assure Unleri that she will be see your father alive, and she nods only that she firmly believes that there's more than my father at stake here, she said after a brief pause. There is dark business afoot, and I fear that despite his importance to me, my father remains but a tool in their wicked designs. Saving him from their clutches unquestionably spares my heart, but it also takes within the one that can spoil the entirety of their evil schemes. When the last one have entered the wood, the two of you quickly descend from the hill on which you've perched and take up their course at a safe distance. You reach the beginning of the road to the edge of the foothills. After a cautious glance back over your shoulder, you plunge into the thick wood. Victory, skis! Okay, I'm not going to start the next one yet. Probably will be able to do these 4 in the next episode and continue on from there. So, hey, thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Peace.